I'm outside this beautiful octagonal church dedicated to Lydia, the first convert in Europe. Lydia was the result of a missionary journey that took an unusual turn. Paul and Silas left from Antioch, and they made their way past some of the churches that they had planted on the first missionary journey when Barnabas was involved. And then when they were in Troas, right here, this is where Paul has a vision of somebody in Macedonia, pictured on the other side of the Adriatic Sea. He goes to Neapolis, the port right here, and up to Philippi, which is where he meets Lydia, after whom this church is named. She and her whole household are baptized. And then he will go to Thessalonica, to Berea, to Athens, and to Corinth. And then he makes his way back along the coast of southern Asia Minor to Antioch. This is part of an international explosion in the life of the early church in the first generation. We saw it on the day of Pentecost when people came to Jerusalem, and now we're watching Paul, compelled by the Spirit, to go beyond the boundaries of Asia. Just think about this. People from all over the world had heard the gospel in Jerusalem and Judea, but now they're actually going, making converts across the continental boundary in Europe, and this is the first time it happens. Now, inside this church dedicated to Lydia, you'll see all kinds of baptisms, and you'll also see the story of Lydia herself, as well as Paul when he was in Philippi. The first picture has Paul with the vision that he has in Troas, the Macedonian call. He then makes his way across. He's still dressed in his fine clothes as he makes his way across to Philippi. In Philippi, he's going to have this amazing reaction from Lydia, who offers not only herself, but her household and her home as the beginning of the house church here in Philippi. And so the early church begins with this wealthy woman who's a business person from Thyatira in Asia Minor. She's going to be the beginning of the church. But then Paul is going to get into trouble because he frees a young girl who has literally a python spirit, which is associated with the Delphi oracle. Paul frees her from the spirit, and so she's no longer surrounded by that python, but now she's got this golden glow, and as a result of that, Paul and Silas are going to be thrown into jail. And so they're thrown into jail with plain clothes. You can tell that they've probably been beaten, and the persecution that Paul describes later is taking place while he's in Philippi. He and Silas will sing during the night, and eventually the Philippian jailer is going to come to faith because he's terrified that the prisoners are going to escape. And that's what's pictured over here as Paul now becomes a mediator of salvation to another household, and that is the Philippian jailer and his household are going to get converted and baptized. And part of what's so special here is that this church is actually just a baptistry. It celebrates the baptism of Lydia and her family, and in this same city was the baptism of the Philippian jailer and his family, and those baptisms marked the conversions of the first European converts here. And so in the center space right here, you can see where the Greek Orthodox Church continues to have baptisms inside, and then they've created an outdoor baptismal as well along the very river where Lydia was found praying on a Sabbath morning and first started to make the steps of faith that led to her own baptism.